This morning's guest thought he knew his parents until he interviewed them. Find out what it's all about coming up next on All American People. Good morning. Welcome to All American People. This morning we're at Villa Romana Italian Restaurant, the 5-time Italian Restaurant of the Year. We're focused on Carolina Weekly, and we're visiting with its editor, Paul Gable. Good morning, Paul.
Hi, Greg. How are
Thanks
you?
for coming in early on a Tuesday morning. Of course, for Ronaldo to open up the restaurant for us all week. Obviously, they're only open for dinner, but they're kind enough to let us slip in here.
Very nice of them. And you know, today has the one thing that can happen only once every 100 years, right? 1-11-11.
Oh my Lord, that's right. 1-11-11. That's right. I'm trying. So the next one will be 1-11. Oh yeah, 21-11. That's right. That's exactly right. 1-11. That's exactly.
That just
right.
struck me as I was thinking about the date this morning. So.
You stumped me here at 7 a.m.
Well, you know.
I did mention also that you are a 10-year naval veteran of the U.S. Navy, 1970 to 1980. I saw that ad in the Myrtle Beach Herald last week,
right.
On Friday, that came out. The full-page ad, it had you listed as the veteran of the U.S. Navy, and the excitement of getting somebody with naval experience in here, particularly naval intelligence. 10 years of your focus, much of your focus there during the 10 years of naval experience was in naval intelligence. How did you get into that?
Well, let me say one thing first off, so that we clear up any confusion that might be out there. For the 10 years that I was in it, naval intelligence was not an oxymoron. But on the more serious side, I had worked at a job with a defense contractor. I had a top secret clearance before I lost my job deferment, and the draft came up during Vietnam time, and so I already had a top secret clearance. So it wasn't a matter of the biggest problem in getting people in intelligence in the military is being able to pass the clearance requirements. Okay?
Right.
I had the top secret clearance. That kind of opened the door. So I wound up with a top secret special intelligence clearance with a lot of code word access and what have you too.
Wow.
But that 10 years was a fascinating 10 years. It was a lot of fun.
During that 10-year, now were you and Kathy yet? Y'all were not married. Did you get married over that 10-year?
Yeah, I got married right at the end of it.
Okay.
Yeah, we got married in 1980, just a few months before I got out of the Navy. I mean, I already knew I was getting out at that point, but we got married in July, and I got discharged the end of October of 1980.
Just a few months later.
Yeah, but I mean, I met her when my last 3 years, I was in Boston. I met her when I was up there because she's a Boston native. So.
Right.
So we could say that my last tour of duty in the Navy is what led me to get married.
How exciting! What a good connection. Almost. So y'all recently celebrated your 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
How exciting, Paul!
Yeah.
And of course, we didn't have you listed as the parent and grandparent. We've got a guest later this week, Larry Biddle, who, as part of how he wanted to be listed in the Herald, was as a parent and grandparent. Of course, you serve that role very well. The parent of three,
yeah,
and the grandparent of one now. Yeah,
just one. Yeah, and the grandparent role, I'm not quite as familiar with because it is only 3 years, and of course they live outside of Indianapolis, Indiana,
right,
which is quite a trip for us. So we don't see our grandson 1, 2, 3 times a year if we're lucky,
sure,
as opposed to having him around the corner, which would be ideal. But you know, hey, everybody has to have their own career.
He's got a great job, I believe. Is he the editor or sports editor of a paper outside of Indianapolis?
Paper outside of Indianapolis that allows him to cover the Colts during the season. And he was at the Indianapolis 500.
Wow.
He's really at. He's getting the kind of sport, and he does. Don't get me wrong. He does high school and he does college too. But but he's hitting some of that top drawer stuff that everybody wants to, but so few get the chance, and he's just been fortunate enough to do that.
How exciting. And this is Paul Jr.?
No, he's actually the fourth.
Oh, okay.
I'm the third.
That's right, exactly. And I should remember that because not long ago you profiled your mom and dad, which was a fascinating interview. Paul, will you share with viewers, for viewers who may not have caught it at CarolinaWeekly.com, just what that was like and why you took the time to go ahead and actually profile your parents? What was the excitement there?
Well, the excitement was their 65th wedding anniversary.
65th wedding anniversary?
65th wedding
Oh,
anniversary,
Lord.
yeah. They got married right after he got back from World War II. Actually, less than 2 weeks after he got back from World War II, they were married. The interesting thing, and for that reason, I mean, you know, you need two things to go 65 years wedding. You need to have a strong marriage, but you also both have to live that long and just have the longevity out of the pair to make it. And so few do for one reason or the other, you know.
Sure.
And so just the fact that it was kind of a unique anniversary is why I did it. But in profiling, you know, the nice thing about profiling is you go in depth about the people or periods. I mean, obviously, excuse me, we have 1,000, 1,200 words maybe that we use on each profile. You can't cover a person's lifetime, but you can cover the interesting parts. And I learned some new things about my parents.
Oh, come on.
While we were talking about that.
No, Paul.
Yeah,
no, you
really.
got to share. Give us a little nugget. What
Well,
did you learn
one of the
about
things,
your parents that you didn't know?
One of the things I never asked my father was how long it took him to transition back. I mean, he was basically in combat for almost 3 years in the Pacific. And I asked him, you got out of the Army, you got discharged from the Army, within 2 weeks you're married, and how difficult was that transition from the regimented Army life, of which involved an awful lot of combat, to all of a sudden being married and taking on the responsibilities, you know, of a new husband. And in sharing with me, he told me how long it took him. He said, you know, it took about 6 months before he ever felt comfortable even around any people.
Other than his wife.
Well, he told me, he said, even my mother, he said, you know, for about a month or so after I got back, he says, I wasn't, not that he was uncomfortable, but he was unsure. Because of, I mean, when I got out of the Navy, when you switch from military life to civilian life, you do it as soon as the discharge is there, but the mental transition takes a while, which is why I asked him that question.
Wow.
And when you're transitioning from combat, and he said, just to feel comfortable, just to feel that I knew how to act, you know, in civilian life again, it took a period of time.
That is fascinating, Paul. Well, for viewers who may not have been to CarolinaWeekly.com, if they go, they can simply go to a search box and type in Gable, or they can click on, were they under the Citizen of the Week?
They were under Citizens,
Under
yeah.
Citizens of the Week.
Well,
exactly.
they were plural because
we had
of that.
them as plural. For viewers who may not have been to the website yet, just share with them what they will find and we'll go back a little bit and highlight some of the experiences, both in the reporting side, but now at Carolina Weekly, what will they find if someone shut off the TV now and went over to the internet, or just went online right now to take a look at CarolinaWeekly.com?
Well, first of all, they would find 5 profiles that I do. We have, each week we try and feature, we feature a business of the week.
Business of the week.
A nonprofit of the week.
Okay, great.
A citizen of the week.
Right.
Public servant of the week. And a veteran of the week.
A veteran every week. Every
week, yeah. And those are 5 categories that kind of span the interest, it seems, of the American public.
Sure.
And also give us a very broad area in which to work, you know. And I particularly like the nonprofit because I think oftentimes, and especially in these difficult economic times, you know, nonprofits are having some trouble, and people aren't aware sometimes of nonprofit organizations, how the extensive things that they do and help. And so maybe we can help spur a little bit that way.
Yes.
But we also have TV talk.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which is
Pete
done.
Seeler's column.
Pete Seeler's column. He's been into business, you know, that period of time, and it's a retrospective of what was happening 50 years ago on TV, and I love that because that's back in my childhood.
Not
you know?
to date you there, Paul. Yeah,
well, but it's true. And I mean, I remember those things happening the first time around, to read them again and say, oh yeah, golly, you know, I'd forgotten that. I mean, Pete's giving me a history class every week.
Yes.
And then Rhonda Rich, we're doing a best of her Dixie Divas column.
Dixie Divas, that's right.
And she has her own unique way of presenting basically a woman's column. Right. Although I think and I enjoy reading
both
it.
Southern and women.
Yeah,
woman. Right,
yeah.
right.
That is just, I mean, it's so informational. I enjoy that.
Well, she has been doing that column, and of course, Rhonda, having worked for Gannett, worked for USA Today on the NASCAR circuit for many years, and then having gotten out of that and ultimately became a best-selling author of, I think now in her 4th book, one of her books in 29 printings, in its 29th
See,
edition.
and she's done all that, and now she's finally hit the peak of journalism in Carolina Weekly.
Carolina Weekly,
yeah,
that's
I mean,
right.
What
that's
more
right.
can we offer? You know.
So, folks, every week, and was it published a certain day of the week, or is it?
Yeah, every Thursday by noontime we have the new content up.
Right.
That's for all 7 pieces. We get it, you know, obviously we get them in a little earlier than that. You do the proofreading and stuff. But every Thursday at noontime, the new stuff will come up.
That is tremendous.
Or by noontime. Oftentimes it's earlier than that,
Sure,
but at least
sure.
by noontime you have your new content, and it's just fun. I mean,
how do you come up with the 5 each week, Paul? The business of the week, the citizen of the week, the nonprofit of the week, the public servant of the week, and of course the veteran of the week. How do you go about searching out who you will profile, and what is the audience that you're trying to reach? Are you trying to reach here in the Myrtle Beach area, the Florence area, the Carolinas? I recently saw an interview you did for an attorney in Raleigh. There was a yogurt place you did in Durham that I think has a branch over in Greenville. You had a legislator from Surfside Beach, Nelson Hardwick, and one from Myrtle Beach, Luke Rankin, a Conway native. You've had a heck of a lot of folks. Johnny Shelley from Shelley Farms recently, I think, was a business of the week, and maybe the recent Liz Gillen, who recently gave up her chairmanship of Horry County Council.
Yeah, well, the answer to that is yes to all those areas. You know, I love Myrtle Beach, but I love Florence. We love getting up into North Carolina.
Sure.
There's so many interesting stories to be told, and if I did them every day for the rest of my life, we couldn't come close to telling all those stories.
Right.
But how do I get them? A lot of people, a lot of referrals from people, really.
Sure.
I mean, some of these people I know, obviously.
Right.
But or they will somebody will say, you know, you really should do so and so, who I might know, but that reiterates the fact that you should. Sometimes you can get us by contact us. There's a contact us button
At CarolinaWeekly.com.
at CarolinaWeekly.com.
Okay.
If you know somebody or that should be profiled, or heck, if you think you yourself should be profiled,
Sure.
send us an email through to contact us. We'd be glad to do you, because there's no special qualifications. I mean, we're not trying to get high name, high recognition people. We're not trying to get somebody that's hiding out in the corner someplace. Yes,
Right.
We'll do both, but we'll do everything in between too. I mean,
That's
just get the spotlight on different people every week.
So if someone fills out a contact us form, you want them to give you the phone number?
Some kind of contact information,
sure.
preferably the phone number.
Right.
If they don't want to do that, at least an email address where we can email. But there's
Sure.
a lot better response, a lot better guarantee that you're going to, you know, at least you'll
Sure.
speak person to person to that person if they come up with a phone number.
This is truly a Nags Head to Hilton Head, the old Murphy to Manio you'd hear in North Carolina, and obviously here all the way up into the upstate. Of course, you've got a great connection to the Midlands, your son having attended college up that way, your daughter at Francis Marion, other folks here in Horry County. So you've got deep roots that stretch out throughout South Carolina and then into North Carolina. I know some other folks that are involved in the publication have deep ties in
North
the
Carolina, and some of those people that I've done in the Triangle have been unbelievable people that are more than willing to share other people that should be done.
Yes, that is tremendous.